What is up, everyone? And someone's playing the music. Who's got the tunes going? Is that you, Kyler?
That's Kyler.
Oh, Kyler with the tunes. All right. Hey, what is up, everyone? You know what time it is. TCR Live. I am joined by my good friends, Kyler Burd, Aarron Van Buren. Mr. Van Buren, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I was in New Orleans last week and was definitely an experience. So met some great people and happy to be back.
Okay. Nice. Okay. Well, we are glad that you're back. Kyler, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm getting to the end of a long week at work, but you know, I would have not been here today if it had not been for Aarron Van Buren. Him being back, I had to make time. You know, had to.
That's right. What you complete us. We're not whole without you.
You're too kind.
Yes. So we're glad to have you back, Aarron. You are the yin to our yang. So we are much better with you than without you. So want to say hey to some of the folks in the chat, but before I do that, just want to kind of throw this out there. We have sort of a announcement we're going to make at the end of the live stream. So we're just going to tease that, but we've got this announcement at the end of the live stream. We are all here for AVB. That's right, Silver Wolf. You were right. So let's say hey to some of the other folks in the chat. Aarron Van Buren, bro, what?
Well, because Silver Wolf in the chat, when I went to go share the link, he put up AVB WTF man, and I was just like, "What are you talking about? Like, what?"
And then Silver Wolf, LOL. So he got the joke.
Yeah, no, he's the one who commented it.
Yeah, that's right. We got Niners Sickness dropping in. Beto, good dude. Hey, Joseph, just stopping by to show some 49er love. Have an awesome show, brother. Appreciate you, Beto. Even though you're a Niners fan, you're a good dude. And speaking of fans of enemy teams that are good dudes, we have Payo Time in the chat. Good evening, one and all. Hope you all doing so. You're all doing so good. Yes, thank you, Payo Time. We got Nutsack. He's found Marquise Hayes' long lost twin. Congratulations. Apparently, Aarron, he thinks you're going to do a DNA test through film. Okay. We got Paul G. Hey, Paul, thank you for being here. Hi, everyone. We've got Elawan, one of the really wonderful, encouraging supporters of the channel. So excited to be here. Who else was impatiently all week for the best show on YouTube? Joe and the Gang Rules and is second to none. Thank you, Elawan. Brian, you are second to none.
Elwan, didn't you get like a pretty big retweet from somebody? I think it was maybe even Darren Urban or somebody like that.
Hey, was it the Cards defense attorney tweet?
No, it was about stat predictions for Kyler Murray.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I didn't see it, but if you did, I'd like to see that. So awesome. So Payo's got a question for us because Payo's always good with the questions. Zach brings the fire with the questions. Question: if you had to pick a Cardinals player to be handcuffed to and then compete in an aquafit competition, who would you pick?
What the hell is that?
What's an aquafit competition?
I don't know.
Are we doing like water aerobics here?
I guess.
I gotta look that up.
Yeah.
Look that up, Aaron.
Look that up.
What that is.
What do you think?
Okay.
The first thing that comes up for aquafit competition is aqua aerobics.
Okay, so we'll assume that's what it is.
Okay. So some pool stuff. Handcuffed to in a pool.
Why does this sound like some sort of weird reality TV challenge?
Because it is. It clearly is. Oh wait, he made up an aquafit comp. Okay. No, open to interpretation. So okay,
so just gonna be handcuffed to somebody?
Maybe handcuffed for some sort of like I don't know, some kind of triathlon light. I don't know. So if you, some sort of competitive athletic thing, who are you being handcuffed to?
All right. Buda Baker.
Okay.
The competitive spirit alone, even if we don't know what it is, because apparently Aquafit's fake, I think his competitive spirit would make up for it. So Buda Baker all day.
Aarron.
I'm going to go with Colt McCoy. because he's the
Okay.
last guy you expect to win the game. And we're going
Oh,
to play that surprise factor.
all right.
Ooh. Okay. I'm gonna go with like Rashard Lawrence
Oh,
Okay.
because he's kind of a big dude, and like he's still gonna leave me behind because I'm slow too. But like at least I won't be left behind as much as like he's like with Buda Baker's gonna be dragging us along, dude.
Yeah,
like
true.
Rashard Lawrence might still drag me along. I don't want to not down him, but he's a nose tackle kind of guy. So right, so he's so maybe I have a chance of not completely. No, I don't have a chance. I'd still be drunk. So a great question. So yeah, of course. Thank you for asking the question. Right. Marcus Golden, hands down, he has the motor to keep us afloat. Yeah, dude.
That's a good
Golden
one.
puts you on his back and just carries you, right?
I've used him as so many answers, so I had
Yeah, dude. I love Junkyard Dog. He's the best. So great question to get us started. Awesome. So we really just kind of have one topic here, but you folks in the chat, get your questions and comments. This is probably a little more Q&A. But really, the big Cardinals news right now, and it's not really news as much as it's just the thing on the minds of most Cardinals fans, is the Rodney Hudson stuff, right? I think Chuck Harris tweeted out something that he had asked someone about the Hudson thing. Is he going to be back with the team, or is he done? And basically the what they said was something to the fact that I don't think so. He was probably done. Which, we've been talking about this for a while. So, so let's get it started with, Kyler, how you feeling about the Hudson thing right now? What's your take on it?
I feel as bad about it as ever. I can't see a scenario out of this where Rodney Hudson's still the starting center at the beginning of the season. Whether or not that comes from retirement or it's some other issue with the team that's causing it, it seems incredibly unlikely that he is going to be there at the beginning of the season. My whole thing with it right now, the more I've thought about it, if it was just a retirement thing, how easy would it be for Rodney Hudson or even the team to say, hey, I'm considering retirement. I would appreciate time for me and my family to think about this big decision. That's it. Like, that's all you have to say. But instead, we're left kind of wallowing in this mire of what's happening because no one's talking, which they shouldn't. I don't think that organizations should air dirty laundry or anything like that. But if it was just a simple, hey, I think I might be getting to the end of my career. Please let me and my family think about this, and I'll let you guys know. Seems pretty easy to me, and it kind of makes me more and more frustrated that we can't just hear something like that, if that's what it is.
So I would suggest, though, it's still possible that's the case because the organization, he might have come to the organization with that, and they might know that, but they're kind of keeping mum on it out of respect for him. If that's the case, I mean, if that were the case, I would imagine the organization wouldn't air that dirty laundry, right? So I don't know,
but I don't see a retirement decision as dirty laundry necessarily. Players decide to retire all the time.
Yeah,
it's more a thing like Malcolm Butler retiring, and look where he is now. He just didn't want to play for the Cardinals, so he retired. So I don't know if we're looking at a situation like that because Malcolm Butler's back, and it's not with us.
Yeah. What do you think, Aarron?
I mean, Kyler really kind of summed it up, or said it eloquently, in that like this is getting to like dangerous levels with Cardinal season because I'm sure Justin Pugh could do a solid job moving over from guard. But then comes the question of, okay, then who's your left guard? Then who's your backup center? Is Sean Harlow going to be there? And then it's a domino effect. And I mean, we've been over this 2, maybe even 3 times before this has even happened. And I've been on record saying that when Hudson went down, the team really went down last year. And I would say Hudson is the best center that we've had in quite some time since God, who was the center in 2015? Ted Larson or AQ Shipley? And even before that, you go all the way back to like Lyle Senline on the Super Bowl team. I mean, there's just so many things that the Cardinals haven't had in terms of a franchise player. Tight end is one of them, but that seemed to be fixed now. But like offensive linemen, I mean, the last great Cardinals offensive lineman, I don't know. You want to go back to Dan Deerdorf or even Conrad Dobler, for those of you that know him. I know Paul does. But there was so I live in Chicago, and there was a local radio station who covers the White Sox up here. Lawrence Holmes, he's a great analyst. Even if you don't like the sports or the teams he covers, he's still a great listen. And they were talking about how Tony La Russa is just going bonkers with the White Sox. And the term he used was management malpractice, because they walked the guy on an 0-1 count. They intentionally walked the guy. And this is like the second time they've done it this year. And so it's starting to look like that for Steve Keim here. Sorry, there's a roundabout way of saying it. And if there is not a action plan that's being taken place, which I'm sure there probably is, but if something doesn't happen, or if the replacement plan absolutely bottoms out, then we could see some real cooking on the hot seats of Kingsbury and Keim.
Yeah. You know, like when I think about the Rodney Hudson thing, I've kind of just come to this place where I'm assuming I've been assuming he was going to retire or be gone for weeks now, right? I've actually kind of made my peace with the idea he's not coming back, right? So I've already moved on, and like, okay, what's the next plan? So for me, the recent kind of, you know, this becoming something people are talking about again because of the report and such, is really doesn't change anything for me. I kind of figure they're moving on. They need to figure out their backup plan. Is it Pugh at center? Okay, who's starting at guard like you talked about? Are they going to bring in a veteran center, or maybe are they going to keep Pugh at center and bring in a veteran guard, right? You know, to kind of move over there. But for me, it's kind of like I've already accepted this reality. And if for some reason we're wrong and Hudson comes back, then yay, right? So, you know, that's kind of my take. So real quick, I want to say hey to Rashad. What is up? Love the shirt. Appreciate that, Rashad. And we've got Grandizer who's in here. Want to say hey to Grandizer. This year has become a dire need for centers. Quite a few teams are very unsure of their centers. Anyone trying to move center their practice squad as time gets close will be scooped up by teams. Yeah, for sure. You're not going to be able to keep a decent center prospect on your practice squad for sure, right? Let's see. We got Paul G. Tony Banks was all pro in the 1970s. Tom Brahaney was his backup, drafted higher, but only started after Banks left. Bob DeMarco was a great center. Deerdorf played center to extend his career. There we go. So what do we mean? Let me ask this question. If it is Pugh moving over to center, and then what we're probably looking at, you know, is Humphreys and Beecham at the tackles, Hernandez at probably right guard, right? And left guard is Justin Murray or Josh Jones or one of the rookies, if one of them, you know, kind of earns that job. So the question is, like, how bad is that? Like, really, honestly, because I think that the prevailing sentiment has been all is lost. That's a horrible, horrible NFL offensive line is the way a lot of fans have viewed it. But like, setting all the doom and gloom aside, just objectively speaking, how good or bad is that offensive line if that's who we're looking at compared to what you see around the league?
That's a great question.
Hey, Peo, Joseph, can you kindly ask Peo whose house? Whose house, Peo? I wonder, right?
Oh, God.
Real quick, let me also say hey to Cuckoo Kaka. Thank you for being here. Hi. That's an interesting name, right?
And next, the hooker bots are going to come again.
Yes, yeah, I hope not. Yes, so Yeah. On that note, in fact, I think I need to create a few more admins. So while you all are kind of answering that question, how bad is that really?
How bad is the Cardinals line without Hudson compared to the rest of the league?
Yes, that lineup more or less that we just kind of described.
I'm going to say it's not one of the worst, but it's going to be down there in the lower teens. And for our division, it's a death sentence. I mean, even though the Seahawks aren't as powerful as they once were, it's still the Seahawks. This is the NFC West. They did beat us to close out the regular season last year when it shouldn't have even been a contest. It's just the NFC West. There is such a marginal room for error, and it just makes you wonder how the Niners started 2-5 and somehow ended up in the NFC Championship game last year. So I would say lower teens, but for us and the way Kyler Murray is and the way how he does not like contact at all, and I wouldn't blame him either. You put me back there, and I mean I'm a bigger guy, but playing next to some of these behemoth defensive linemen you're going against, it's not enjoyable for anyone to get hit. So that's my take.
Okay. What do you think, Kyler?
I don't think it's pure doom and gloom. I do agree with Aarron that it's probably a low teens, maybe like around 20th type of thing. So it's bottom half of the league. Don't get me wrong, it's not good. Rodney Hudson alone takes a 20th ranked offensive line to like 10 to 12 just by him alone. So I don't want to ever understate how awful it is to lose Rodney Hudson. It's a gut punch right before the season. But I think Aarron is on to something that Justin Pugh can do it. Even like Paul G pointed out, Deerdorf went to center to extend his career. It is a move that you've seen before in the league, sort of like when cornerbacks move to safety. There are these like career extending moves, and maybe that is something for Pugh. And he has the intelligence and the football IQ to do something like that for sure. He knows the game really, really well. But both guard positions then become a giant question mark. I think Will Hernandez has the potential to come in and kind of regain some of the momentum he had his rookie season and look a little bit more like he did at UTEP. But then left guard, what do you do there? If you put Josh Jones there, who we've played out of position because it seems like tackle is really what he is meant to be, and he did not perform well at right guard last year in the time that he did get. So does he get any better at left guard? I don't know. Justin Murray would probably give him a pretty decent run for his money. But Justin Murray's the guy that we've kept around for injuries. He's a good, solid depth. But when your depth become your starting lineup before the season even starts, you're in a rough place. So free agent options for center have to be very seriously considered. And that's part of the frustration with Rodney Hudson not making a decision. Because I know that it's a professional football organization. They have contingency plans, but they can't act on that until a decision's made. They're not going to have Rodney Hudson on their roster and then go get J.C. Treader as well until they know for a fact that Rodney Hudson's not going to be there. So something just needs to be done now. And if that could be done before training camp, that would be great because it helps everyone and it gets the starting lineup of the offensive line working together sooner before the start of the season.
I want to just branch off of Grandizer's comment there. He says he was talking about the Broncos YouTuber and how they have 3 centers. And I don't really know their centers by name, but I do know one person that was pretty much the Matt Ariza of his own draft that everybody wanted, or at least in the offensive line world. If Pugh goes to center, the Cardinals need to break the bank and trade for Quinn Meinerz from the Denver Broncos. He was the guy who had the T-shirt, the "Let the Belly Breathe," and he also played at UW Whitewater, our rivals at Oshkosh. And the guy was just a straight mauler. And then he was the reason why Melvin Gordon and
Philip Lindsay.
No, not Philip Lindsay. Javonte Williams last year were like almost like a renaissance duo. I would love to have them in Arizona, and if it takes like a 3rd round pick, done. That's my take.
While you guys were sharing your thoughts, I actually went through PFF and just quickly looked at the starting offensive lines for all the other NFL teams. And, PFF grades I get aren't always perfect, right? But just kind of scanning them, looking at the players. And, I saw maybe 4 or 5 offensive lines that I think are worse than the Cardinals based on grades, roughly ballparking it. So it's concerning, right? There are some free agents out there we've talked about, Treader, Paredes, a few others. And I'd feel much better if we picked up one of those guys. The left guard is a concern. Josh Jones should be playing tackle. I'm still optimistic about his future as a tackle, but he struggled at guard. Justin Murray has been serviceable, played guard for them, but he's a guy you like having in your roster for depth, but he's a serviceable starter, but with the rest of the offensive line being a patchwork, that's tough, right? I do agree that like as much as people are really down on Pugh moving to center, I don't know if he's going to pull the job off, but like if there's a guy who I think can do it, I think it's him. He's smart. He's a veteran. He moved from tackle to guard. He's also, if you've watched some interviews with him, he's gotten really big into kind of monitoring what he puts in his body. Like he's a health freak. He's actually light. He's like 280 something. He'll probably get up a little bit more for playing right, but like he's not a big dude. And often centers are a little bit, not always, but often a little bit smaller than guards. And I think he could do a good job at center. I mean, we'll see, but I think he could. But the question at guard then becomes, or the problem at guard becomes the question, right? So the one thing I just keep in the back of my mind is remembering that, like, when you have a mobile quarterback, yes, I understand that we want to keep Kyler upright, and the offensive line is part of that. And he, if he's having to exit the pocket, that there's some negatives to that as well. But like Russell Wilson kept a contending team for a decade with patchwork offensive lines and occasionally a good player or two in there.
He's the most sacked quarterback since 2012 with like 427 sacks.
And that's not great. But like Seattle made that work. It was almost like an organizational strategy or philosophy of we build a defense, we build a running game, we have Russ, and we put together a patchwork offensive line and let Tom Cable coach them up. And that was their strategy for a decade, and they got a Super Bowl out of it. So
that
I'm not saying
really helped them there.
I'm sorry?
Defense really helped them for most of that.
It did. And listen, our defense isn't at that level. I'm not trying to be like naively optimistic to say it's going to work. We're going to win a Super Bowl with this offensive line. I'm just saying, you can make it work. It's not ideal, but with a quarterback like Kyler, you can make it work. But we'll see. I mean, you just never know. Are one of those rookies going to, step up, right? With like we talk about, Nutsack's talking about the rookies, Hayes, who's probably more of a right guard mauler than Smith, who might be a little more versatile. I'm still optimistic about those guys, but I am worried though. I'm trying to give like the case for optimism, but I'm also worried, right?
Yeah. If you could, Paul G has a comment about cap savings up there. So yes, it would be about $10 million in cap. It would take the team to about $20 million in cap room. So that is plenty of room to make a pretty decent move,
or two at least. Yeah,
like you can add some really decent players with what's left in the free agent market with $20 million. You can fill in some of those holes during training camp before preseason. So I mean that's one plus, but I bring it up because here's something that we haven't talked about. I feel like we've talked about Rodney Hudson so much, and we've talked about every situation, but I don't think we've talked about this potential move. The Cardinals take Pugh. He becomes the starting center. Maybe that's because it is a career-extending type of move, and they think he can be the center for a few more years beyond this. But there are some fairly decent-ish guards still on the free agent market. We've only talked about free agent centers like Treader and Matt Paradis. I can't say his last name.
Paradis
City.
Paradis.
Although Granddad just says he wasn't good for the Panthers. So, yeah.
Well, if I understand correctly, the Panthers installed turnstiles at guard, so maybe it wasn't his fault.
Yeah. Like, there are some older, experienced, maybe one-year rental type guards out there. Eric Flowers, I know. Laurent Duvernay-Tardif is still out there. Trey Hopkins, Billy Price, Alex Lewis, Kyle Long.
Well, Tardif went back to the medical sector for another year, I thought.
Again?
Yeah, he left again.
I did not know that.
And at this point, I'm just kind of like you. I mean, like I totally value your honorable decision, but you got to pick one or the other at this point because you're getting older.
Yeah. Well, my point is we really have two free agent pools to think about if we're talking about bringing in someone new to this team. It could be Pugh to center, and then we get a veteran left guard, or we leave Pugh where he is and bring in a veteran center. Which do you think is a better option?
Well, and I think like Simon makes a point here that he mentioned in our Discord, which is a plug. If you aren't part of our Discord, check out the link in the description of the video. We have a great group of folks there who chat about Cardinal stuff all the time. And I saw he mentioned this earlier that he thinks if they haven't signed a free agent center by now, they probably won't. It's a huge commitment to take a starting left guard to play center. And, and all that you have to learn for, in terms of blocking assignments and stuff. So that's a fair point. So that, maybe the guard is the better position. I have to wonder, like, I know Billy Price, they had a visit with him. I know he had a rough start to his career, played a little bit better last year, but as a guy who could play guard or center, something about that versatility, maybe you bring him in as the backup center and let him compete for guard. Man, I don't know. Like there is part of me that is like, if that's our option, if Pugh is really going to center, and we could look at like an Eric Flowers or a Billy Price or one of those, there is part of me that still says, maybe I just want to see what one of those rookies can do. I know that's a dangerous thing, but like, what can Smith do there, right? Real quick, though, I want to say a huge thank you. We have a super sticker from Back to Constitutional. Thank you so much. $10 support. Super, super, super sticker. Appreciate you, Back Constitution, a longtime supporter of the channel.
It's a lemon with maracas.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. And of course, when we get the super chat or super sticker, thank you sincerely. Appreciate that. All the support and everyone who supports us by watching or by being a channel member or super sticker. Definitely appreciate it. So there is a part of me that's like, I know this is scary, but like, would I rather? I mean, we could bring in one of those veterans who might be a little bit of an improvement, or we have Justin Murray who has started for us, Josh Jones who started for us. I know they're not, great guards necessarily, but they're serviceable. And then we got a couple rookies that might show us something. I think they have to bring someone in for camp, right? Training camp. But if either of those rookies show us anything, I'd rather kind of see, I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it. I don't know. What do you
but devil's advocate on that.
Yeah.
You're throwing a rookie into a position where he's going to be going straight up against Aaron Donald twice a year.
Nick Bosa.
Like it's Armstead. Not a regular division type of situation. The NFC West is brutal. Even discounting Seattle, who by all metrics should have a really down year. San Fran's front seven is nothing to laugh about. They're very good. And Aaron Donald is probably the best football player in the world.
Dream wrecker.
Well, here's the really optimistic take. You heard for you that Marquise Hayes will be an All-Pro, and the guy who said it was the same guy who said that about Creed Humphreys last year. Here's hoping, right? I mean,
But how much of Creed Humphrey's success was more on Patrick Mahomes than and the system that is an actual good passing offense that works from Andy Reid? You know, that's where it lies. Because I mean, yes, nutsack, that is true, but the thing is that I don't know if Cliff's offense has it hasn't taken the next step in the last 2 years, and will we have it this year with going back to pretty much an early 2020 offensive line. I mean, that's where it's at. Like, it's not the worst, but it definitely could be a lot better.
Yeah. I'm torn because I do wish they had brought in someone who's a better option at center earlier on, or that maybe even would have drafted someone. And it is getting to the point where some of the names that they have as options, I'm not sure how much I like them better than seeing what we got with our young guys. Treader would be the one guy I bet if we can get JC Treader in here at center, do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. No brainer.
The other thing is, thank you, sir. The other thing is, like, so I did an article on Raising Zona about 3 budget trades. And one of them actually included Kansas City Chiefs center Austin Reiter. He was with the team. He won Super Bowl 54 with them, but when they drafted Humphreys, whatever, they let him go. And Reiter bounced around like 3 teams last year, including a short stint with Payo's Rams late in the season. But, I mean, this is a guy who blocked for Patrick Mahomes, had all this playoff experience with a mobile quarterback out of all things, too. So if there's anybody who we could trade for the cheap, it's Reiter, because his contract is like the veteran minimum. So you could get him right in, and then you could really see if Pugh, could win that center job, and if he doesn't, it goes to Reiter, then Pugh plays guard, and then we're I think we'd be okay.
Yeah. I'm really curious to see what they do. I mean, I know they plan to bring in some guys for camp. I don't know who, and I don't know when. Obviously, before training camp starts in about a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Rookies report on the 21st, the veterans the 26th.
Yeah, so they're good. They're going to sign some folks. And I imagine we'll see some offensive linemen in there, probably cornerbacks, maybe a few other positions. Man, it's tough because, like I said, I'm torn on part of me wanting to bring in a veteran, part of me wanting to see what some of those younger guys can do. But, they got to compete, right? So, I don't know. Let's see. We got No Danny 8. Thanks for being here. Go Cardinals. Appreciate you being here. Let's see, the football scout is the guy who made all pro predictions. He is also an ex-offensive lineman. I like his analysis. Okay, the guy who said that he thinks Marquise Hayes is going to be an all-pro.
Do we got a name on him?
Yeah, if you know the name of that person, let us know. We got Lance.
You can share.
We got Lance in the chat. Boys, appreciate you being here, Mr. Sheridan. I don't know who it is, but who did that. I mean, listen, those 2 guards they got were guys that are supposed to go much earlier. We've talked about it before, so I'm kind of optimistic on them, but still. Mr. Hudson, why did you have to do this, right? I don't know what's going on in his world. I mean, I want to be sensitive to that, but hopefully we figure something out. So got Go Big Red 1898. Okay. So there's not a lot else going on in the news aside from, there was a report that I think was it on ESPN,
Jeff
Darlington, thank you, reported that the negotiations with Kyler and the Cardinals seem to be going well and optimistic that something's going to happen. So any thoughts on that, gentlemen?
I mean, it's kind of a welcome surprise because the verbiage or whatever word you want to use, that Kingsbury used. And when he said, I'm praying it gets done before camp, on the same day we originally found out Hudson was a no-show, did not do much to really kind of create like, okay, well, it's day one of mandatory minicamp, and we're going down the tubes here, it looks like. But it's going to be good to finally have that out of the way. But at this point, Hudson is still the bigger problem. I don't even care what happens with Murray's contract at this point. We need Hudson.
What do you think, Kyler?
I think next week seems a likely time to get some big news about Kyler Murray's contract. I think there's going to be some sticker shock in some parts of the fan base, but it's an investment. And I think like Joe has done an excellent video on his channel about what to expect when you're expecting a big contract for your quarterback. That was good.
Nice.
And,
Swish.
It's going to be a lot of money. It's going to be a lot of money. But we've seen it time and time again that paying a quarterback one season in 2 to 3 years looks really good where the market reset. So he's going to get a lot of money. Power to him. And I really do think it gets done before training camp. So we've got about 12 days. We'll hear something. I'm pretty confident.
My only thing is I want Kyler to make his money, and I hope he gets a lot guaranteed, but I hope it's not the total amount that Deshaun Watson got. I just don't feel comfortable with that amount of money, and for the production and everything that we've gone on, with all respect to Kyler, and very thankful for what he's done. We're kind of a relevant team again. I just don't know. Was it $232 million guaranteed is the right way to go? If it was a salary you can earn up to it, fine, but guaranteed, no.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the biggest sticking point, right? Is how much is guaranteed, right? But yeah, I mean, I think everything is kind of. I think behind the scenes, everything's kind of been on track all along for what you would expect. Negotiations get a little hairy sometimes, but I think everything's been kind of on schedule all along. It's just in the public space with Eric Burkhart throwing some stuff out there and the whole thing with the social media. I think in the public discourse and the media, it's been contentious, but I think behind the scenes, it's just kind of been more or less on track with what's expected. Normally you get these deals done in the summer. Yes. Burkhart tried to push to get it sooner, but it just feels like everything's going on schedule. And all the flailing that has been going on outside the building, not inside. So I think this is kind of just it being a resolution of the situation the way it always was kind of going to resolve.
I got a little thing that the chat can get involved with here. For those of you in the chat, what is your realistic expectation for Murray's contract, and what are you hoping for? Put those values in the chat, and that can spur
good
some
question.
Conversation.
So what do you think is a realistic contract amount, and what are you hoping for? And then real quick, Lance has a question. Over under James Conner 8 to 10 touch. So let's make that a 10.
Yeah, we need one number there.
Yeah, so why don't we make the over under? What do you think? Do you want to go 9.5 or do you want to go 10.5?
I'll do 9.5.
9. Let's go 9.5 as the over under. What do you guys got? Kyler, why don't you give us what do you got over or under 9.5?
Okay, this is a clarifying question, and I'm not stalling. Is this from scrimmage or rushing?
We'll say that's a good question.
That's a good
I think he implied rushing, but
let's say rushing. We'll say rushing
because he's running back. I'm going to go over. I don't think he's going to get to the 16 rushing, but 12 seems pretty realistic because it might take a little bit longer through the season to find that spot for the second running back, whether it's Darrell Williams or Benjamin. Not going into a season where the expectations already set. Chase Edmonds does this sort of thing. James Conner does this sort of thing. So he might have a little bit more of a heavy role at the beginning while other stuff is getting figured out and the offense is getting figured out. So I'm going to go over, but probably not by a ton.
Okay. What do you think, Aaron?
I'm also going to take the over. But I will take the over with a kind of a caveat attached to it. I'm thinking, and I'm actually really hoping for that the Cardinals really come out in a 3 tight end set when they're inside the 5. Because, I mean, good luck with that. I mean, with a healthy Max Williams, you got Ertz, one of the best tight ends in the league for the last almost decade at this point, I think. And then Trey McBride. I mean, the possibilities are endless. And if Cliff can be the creative engineer that he is with the offensive plays, then that's the only way it kind of would go under. But for this sake, I'm going over.
I'm going to go over as well. I think there's going to be a little regression to the mean, like Kyler pointed out, getting the 16 or whatever. I mean, it's possible, but I think it's going to be lower than the 16. But I think over. I think 12 is a good number. He's going to be the guy in goal line. He's got a nose for it. We don't know exactly how the touches are going to, kind of be divvied up amongst, the other men in the rotation, but he's going to be the primary guy. So, yeah, I like that number. So, yeah, for sure. Let's see. Did we have some comments about folks' projections on the contract amount?
There's one from Pale and one from Simon.
All right, so let's see. We got Payo saying, I hope Murray resets the quarterback market, pay the man. I think realistically it's 4 years, $260 million with like 150 guaranteed.
I don't know if that would reset it. I think Watson reset it.
That would be $65 million. That would reset it all right. I think that's a little.
Oh, I didn't even think of it that way.
Yeah, that's a lot. Who else did we have? Who else did you say? Oh, here we go. We got Simon saying expecting 5-year, $47 million, hoping 42. I think that's kind of where I fall, somewhere $47 million, maybe as much as 50, right? But what would Joe Burrow and Charger quarterback get next year? I'm thinking
Justin Herbert.
Yeah, and and Kyler kindly referenced the video I did. I did it back in March. But it's on my channel. It's about the Kyler Murray, contract, $51 million is what Paul thinks. And, if you go watch that, I run through some numbers that I did some statistical kind of analysis and looked at how the quarterback contracts have gone up every year and kind of did kind of projected what the range would be this year. And I mean, it goes up $3 to $5 million a year average annual salary. So right now this year, the going rate is like 45 to 50 million. And next year it's going to be closer to 55 million, depending on what happens with the salary cap. Right. So, the bottom line is you either pay him or you move on. And I think a lot of fans are going to be surprised. So for sure.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Aaron.
I found something interesting. It's from Sharp Football Stats, and this is how I usually keep track of formation usage. But it was just I saw this other one that come up and said offensive success in terms of by formation, and maybe this is a little bit of foreshadowing. Now the Cardinals only ran 11 plays in 22 personnel, but it was their highest success rate at 82%. So maybe that's something that Kingsbury is going to be working on when it comes to, this year, especially with Knight and all those guys in the fold. So just something I thought I'd share.
Yeah, maybe. And I will say though, the one caveat I would give to stuff like that,
sample size,
small sample size, and sometimes it's like those plays are sometimes effective because they use them so infrequently, and they're kind of a special wrinkle. So, so it's one of those things where it's not just small sample size, but also because it's rare, it's more effective potentially. I don't know for sure, but there's context to that stuff, right? That you have to consider. So and then play with Kyler until Arch Manning is coming out of Texas, then tank for Arch. Oh man,
you're gonna need a lot of highlights for that, my friend.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm ride or die with Kyler. I believe in the talent. I think when you look at everything, yes, he's had his moments, but most quarterbacks do. So yeah. Got a question here to the panel. Would you rather sign Kyler for long term for less per year, or give him a shorter contract for more?
Is there let him play out his 5th-year option? Is that an option?
That is not on the table here. I'm sorry, Aaron. I mean, for me, the answer
I'm
is
going
easy.
shorter.
Shorter.
I just don't know. I feel like Kingsbury and Keim are. I wish I had an analogy, but they're very erratic. And when it's good, it's good. But when it's bad, is it bad?
Okay.
And I don't know if Kyler really wants to put up with that for his entire or majority of his NFL career. Now, I'm not saying Kyler is going to leave the team tomorrow. No, I am not saying that. But after you spend time with someone for as long as they have been together, some things get old, and eventually it may just be a parting way sort of a thing, kind of like how Russell Wilson said, "You're not protecting me, I'm not important to you, I'm gone."
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if Kyler would ever get to that point, but I'd rather give him more for a shorter contract and allow him to have an out, so that way if he chooses to not be here, hey, no harm done. We're moving on. That's what I do.
Kyler, what do you think?
I have a feeling that you and I are going to line up, Joe. I would rather sign him for longer term, less per year, because for all of his problems, believe he is the franchise quarterback of the future. It's the first time in my lifetime that we have seen the Cardinals draft an uber talented quarterback that, while he hasn't done everything we want him to do, has shown that he is a very, very good edge top 10 to some people, to me, clear top 10 quarterback. When was the last time that happened? Drafted. We've had some great quarterbacks in the last 20 years, not because we drafted them, though. Like, he, just from that factor alone, the exciting factor of having a 24, maybe now 25-year-old quarterback that you drafted that gets to grow with your team, sign him to a long-term deal. Like, you need to make this his home for a long term. And that means you're going to have to pay him a lot to give him the security to make it his home for a long time. But I would sign him to the longer deal.
And I'll add, yeah, you're right. I'm with you on that. I believe in the talent. You can win with him. Yes, he's got to get some things worked out in terms of consistency, but he was top 5 in PFF passer rating. For all the things we complained about last year, he was in the top 5 in their passer rating last year. Mm-hmm. Number 1 in big time throws by a nice margin. Yes, he had some bad plays, but there's also the pragmatic roster or salary implications. I don't think that such an agreement would be realistically on the table. I don't think he's going to sign a longer for less per year, but if that were on the table, we talk about how a 5-year deal, by year 3, it becomes a bargain because of the escalating market. If you're talking about a 7-year deal or something like that, imagine what kind of bargain it's going to be years 5, 6, and 7. And if it doesn't work out, there's the salary cap in the salary structure and managing that and massaging that in the NFL is more flexible than any other sport. Let's say they sign a big deal, something fails or whatever. You got 1 year, you got to take a massive dead cap hit, and then you can move on, right? So there's outs on that, right? So for me, it's an easy choice. We're about to make it a big announcement that I teased earlier. So we'll get a couple more comments, but everyone, and I'm actually not joking. There's an announcement we're going to share with you, something that's kind of been going on behind the scenes that we haven't talked about at all. So this might come as a surprise, but there's something surprise we're going to share in just a minute. Let's see. Lance is saying I can get on board with that. I agree. However, if it doesn't work in 3, 4, 5 years, does that mean we move on and rebuild, or do we continue keep him and continue build around him? I mean, I don't know. I'll let you guys take that first. I have my opinion. What do you guys think?
I mean, Lance, let me ask you this, and this is kind of a two-pronged question, half serious, half making fun. You wouldn't want Trace McSorley to be your starter here for the next couple of years?
Why not?
No. We could play that one rap song he has. Yeah. I never listened to it, but I know it's out there.
I've seen it.
But if there's anything that we've learned in this NFL is that we do the NFL, you do not keep a quarterback around who doesn't want to be there, unless you're like Washington with Kirk Cousins. You're like, oh, he's a franchise tag like 3 times in a row. If anything, I don't want to say this because the Cardinals have not been in the position to do it, but it seems like because of the quarterback mobility is so high in this league, God forbid if Murray were to ever leave, the Cardinals could at least hold over to find a decent holdover until they could find someone. Yeah. Yes. Well put. So,
Kyler, what do you think?
I don't know. My heart doesn't have it in me for another rebuild in the next few years, but
will that happen if Kyler gets his monster contract and we only have so long, and then we're cap tied, if we are, and our Super Bowl window is closed because of the contract that Murray gets. So my question to you is, how would you feel if Murray is secured for a long-term deal, but it is a shocking amount of money like Joe Flacco after the Super Bowl 47 win?
Man. Okay, I'll say this, and I don't even know if it's an answer to either one of you. If in the next 3 to 4 years something like that happened where we had to move on from Kyler Murray, that I see being a part of a burn it to the ground, scorched earth approach for Michael Bidwell. As in, Cliff's gone, Steve's gone, Kyler's gone, everyone's gone. This is a brand new team completely. Because that Kyler and Cliff particularly are so tight at the hip in offensive scheme and everything that the organization has been built around them. I can't, if there does come a situation where Kyler Murray has to go away, everyone's going away. Mm-hmm. And then we're probably in for like another 2 to 4 really, really, really dark years.
Yeah. I think in my opinion, I think we build around Kyler for as long as he can continue to be a good NFL quarterback. If he, for some reason, loses it and just tanks and stops being a good quarterback, you have to move on. If he has an injury, injuries that are bad enough that shorten his career, or if he plays long enough where the play declines. But as long as he is a viable starting franchise quarterback, I'll get to you in there, and I see you. You build around him, and when the talent around him, if you are in a place with the talent around him across the board is weak, you rebuild around him. Most of the time, though, that whole big rebuild only happens when like your roster across the board is kind of devoid of talent. Like Miami had that a couple years ago, one of the worst rosters I've seen in ever. And Texans have had that recently, right? Well, a lot of times, if you've got a quarterback like Kyler and he becomes what we think he's going to become, as long as you've got some continuity of some talent around him, you retool. If the talent around him becomes really bad across the board, that's when you rebuild. But I'm sticking with Kyler and either retooling or rebuilding around him, whichever you need to do, as long as he continues to be a good quarterback. Aarron, go ahead.
So, I mean, just going off of, Mr. Nut NS over here. But what if, there comes a situation, because an air raid offense is based off of like the wide receivers. To my knowledge, it's not really based off of a mobile quarterback. So, and take this just as a name only proposition. Do not attach their playing skills or career to this. But what if Kyler Murray runs into a similar future or NFL path as Jared Goff? Maybe he took them to a good amount of heights, but he couldn't get the job done for whatever reason, and eventually he gets swapped over for somebody else who is kind of wasting away on a much worse team. And the Cardinals kind of copy the Rams and the F them pick strategy, and they go out and do it. I guess it's not too far out of the realm of possibility, because we've seen it happen. Yes, I only went once in sample size and all your stats and everything, Joe. I know what you're going to say. There's context here. But
do I say that often?
I think you do. I bring it up. I have a lot of points that you're like, well, the statistical analysis.
Is that how I sound? Can you do that?
No, I like to put voices on things like that.
Clearly.
So. But that's where I'm going with it. So digest that as you wish.
Yeah. Lot to ponder.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we've had a lot of good questions and comments, but I've been teasing this. We have an announcement that we're going to make. And I promise this is not a joke. So a few weeks back, Kyler kind of floated an idea, and that idea kind of led to some discussion that has evolved. And Kyler, Burd, and I have launched a website called AZ Sports Underground, where we feature Arizona's best indie sports content. So we have just launched this site today. We're doing sort of a soft launch this month, and we're going to kind of work out the bugs, get some content up, and then promote it heavily next month. And this is a site where we're going to post articles, links to podcasts, links to videos, and we're bringing on some folks to write with us. And we're also going to try to reach out to some other content creators and kind of help them join our network. And you're going to see some familiar faces if you're part of this channel's community, even writing. In fact, we have an article up here right now written by Rashad, who's a great member of our community, about Rodney Hudson. And so right now, we've got only a handful of things on here, but we're going to grow the site over the course of this month. So please check out our site, and also follow us on Twitter. We have a Twitter handle, AZ_underground abbreviated. So thank you, Lance. Appreciate that. So we're going to post articles, get people writing for us, try to grow the site. So the idea is going to be, it's not going to be exclusively Cardinals. We're going to do all Arizona sports, and eventually hopefully be a one-stop place where you can get great content written by independent content creators. So Kyle, you want to add anything to that?
I'm just really excited that we finally got this off the ground. I had thought about it for a long time, and I finally brought it up to Joseph, and we kind of ran with it. So over the past couple weeks, we've worked really hard in the background, getting stuff set up for a website, getting all this back end type of stuff figured out. We already had a lot of help from a lot of people out in this Arizona sports community. So I want to thank them. You know who you are if you're watching, but just excited to have another opportunity for you guys to see our stuff and to hopefully, like Joe said, have that one-stop place for college sports, for professional sports in the state of Arizona. I know a lot of you are natives and a lot of you are purists of all Arizona, Diamondbacks, Yotes, Cardinals, Suns, that sort of thing. So glad that we can have this one place to kind of showcase all of that. I hope you guys will give it a look and go through it, especially during this soft launch period. And I'm sure if you have a way to contact us on Twitter or something, you have suggestions or things that you would like to see on the site, we'd always be open to suggestions from you guys. But really, really excited to share this with you guys.
Awesome. Thank you. So yeah, check it out, bookmark it. Like I said, there's already, like, we posted 3 brand new articles today. I wrote one, Rashad wrote one, Kyler wrote one, and you'll see new content. How can you support? Clicks and visits to pay. Yeah, that's the best way is, check it out once in a while, every so often. Read anything that's on there.
Make it your homepage.
Share it with folks. What's the link? Yeah, it is.
I tried posting one in the chat, but I didn't go through. So maybe you can.
I'll post it here. That's right. You're probably not an admin, are you? There you go. I need to make you an admin, don't I, Aaron? So there should be the link there. Eventually, we'll get the link up on my channel. Check it out. We're, like I said, this is the soft launch period, so there's only a handful of pieces on there, but we've got folks who are going to start writing with us soon, and we're hope to fill out the content so you've got content about all the major sports, and then go from there. So we're excited about it. Kyler and I, like I said, we've both been working hard. And Rashad, Paynes, who wrote the article about Rodney Hudson today, who was in the chat earlier, has been helping us with some, with the website stuff. He's a really talented engineer background who's going to help us with that. So Rashad, huge thanks to Rashad for all the work he's done to help us with the technical side of things. So that's our big announcement. We started a website. Hope you all check it out and enjoy it, especially as we get into the season. You'll see more and more content. I'm going to be doing a little bit of writing on here. So, if you ever wanted to see what my written word is like, there it is, right? In fact, I did an article that's up there now. So, all right. So that's our show. We've got our announcement, we've got our news, and we've got our conversation. We've got a lot of fine folks in the chat who have been great and given us a lot of great questions and comments. So as we head out, Mr. Van Buren, where can people find you, and what do you have coming up in your own content?
Yeah, so my personal Twitter handle for just Cardinals is down below. And then I'm also a site expert at Raising Zona. We've had one of our newest members of our team called it the draft class. Our newest draft class of writers has been putting out content, and I've been so proud of them for that. So we got stuff on like Keontae Ingram being, having a bigger role in the offense than most people would think. We got in-depth, projections on like the tight end group. And then, even part of the cap situation we talked about earlier here tonight is probably going to be one of the things that we also dive into. So come on over, read it up. Make sure you guys go follow Raising Zona on Twitter, Facebook page. We'd love to have you there. And, even just a like or a retweet's always appreciated. So
awesome. Kyler, what is going on with you? Where can people find you? What's new coming in the pipeline?
Well, you guys can always follow me on Twitter. I try to be active there, mostly Cardinal stuff, but occasionally Suns. DeAndre Ayton's back. Big news. Go check out Twitter. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't need this, Aaron. But you can find me there. I think the handle is in the description on these videos, and it feels really good to say that you can start finding my work on azsportsunderground.com. So really excited for that. Give the site a visit. Like I said, have suggestions, please send them our way. We'll be glad to listen to anything.
For sure. And let me real quick say thanks to Grandizer for being just a great help and supporter, and throwing those comments in there about where to follow us, and really appreciate you Grandizer, you're a great supporter to us and other content. I see, I go into other live streams and Grandizers supporting them as well. Just a great support of the community. So appreciate that. Lance, thank you for being here. Great supporter. Good dude. Thanks for letting us be a part of this journey. Football is life. We appreciate you being part of it with us. Silver Wolf, hope everyone has an awesome weekend. Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Paul, thank you so much. Great conversation tonight. Appreciate you and your comments. So yeah, thank you everyone for being here. We're excited about the website. We're excited to have you check it out and be there with us as we grow. Thank you all. We're going to end this. We're going to put up our shout out to the channel members, and then we will call it a night. So everyone, peace.